In 2024, the United States Commerce Secretary went on 60 Minutes, held up Huawei's newest chip, and called it years behind. Her exact words were, "We have out-innovated China." The export controls, she said, were working. 2 years later, Nvidia's share of the Chinese AI chip market is zero, not shrinking. Zero. And the company that took it is the same one Washington laughed at. This is Huawei's Ascend AI chip, and how it went from a punchline to the engine of an entire industry is one of the strangest reversals in modern technology. But here's what almost nobody understands. The United States did not lose a chip sale here. It lost something far harder to win back, and Nvidia's own chief executive officer has now admitted it out loud. By the end of this video, you will understand how a chip that is genuinely weaker than Nvidia's came to dominate the world's second largest economy, what Huawei did next that should not have been possible, and the single move America made that may have created its own greatest competitor. So start with the chip everyone said was a joke. In 2024, the dismissal made sense on paper. Huawei's flagship AI chip, the Ascend 910C, is a real, serious piece of hardware. But next to Nvidia's best, it is not close. Nvidia's top accelerator pushes around 2,500 trillion calculations per second. Huawei's 910C manages about 780 trillion. That's less than a third. Less memory, slower bandwidth, a full generation behind. By every number an engineer would put on a slide, Nvidia wins. So America assumed the math was settled. It wasn't, because the math that actually mattered was never about the chip. It was about the market. In April 2025, Washington tightened the screws again, effectively cutting off even Nvidia's stripped-down, China-only H20 chip. And the moment Nvidia walked out the door, Huawei walked in. China's tech giants, Alibaba, ByteDance, Tencent, needed AI chips by the hundreds of thousands and suddenly had nowhere else to buy them. So they bought Ascend. Huawei's AI chip revenue is now projected to jump from $7.5 billion in 2025 to roughly $12 billion in 2026, a 60% surge in a single year. Huawei is on track to control around 60% of China's entire AI chip market. And Nvidia, which not long ago held 95% of that market, has watched its share fall to zero. Think about what that means. The most dominant chip company on Earth erased from the world's second largest economy, replaced by the chip America called years behind. But selling a weaker chip into a captive market is one thing. What Huawei did next should have been flatly impossible because the chip was never really the prize. The prize was what China was forced to build around it. Here was Huawei's problem. If your chip is a third as powerful as Nvidia's, you cannot win a race one against one. You will lose every time. So Huawei stopped trying to win one against one. Instead of building one super chip, they did something almost crude in its simplicity. They took 384 of their Ascend 910C chips and wired them together into a single machine. They call it Cloud Matrix 384, and it appeared within days of that April 2025 export ban, almost like a reply. The chips are linked not by ordinary copper, but by a fully optical mesh. Nearly 7,000 high-speed optical connections, letting all 384 processors talk at once, as if they were one enormous brain. And the result genuinely shouldn't work as well as it does. A single cloud matrix system delivers about 300 quadrillion calculations per second. Nvidia's flagship rack, the GB200 NVL72, the most powerful AI server the company sells, delivers about 180. Huawei's machine also carries more than 3.5 times the high-speed memory. On raw system performance, the Chinese cluster beats the best machine Nvidia makes. The catch is power. To pull it off, Cloud Matrix burns nearly 4 times the electricity. As one leading analysis put it, Huawei is a full generation behind on the chip, but ahead of Nvidia on system design. They lost the battle of the silicon and won the battle of the architecture. But the cluster, staggering as it is, still isn't the real story, because the single most important thing China built here is something you cannot photograph at all. And this is the part Nvidia's own CEO admitted out loud. The move he now says didn't just fail, it backfired. For decades, Nvidia's real moat was never just its chips. It was CUDA, the software almost every AI developer on Earth learned to build on. Walking away from CUDA was unthinkable. But when Washington locked China out of Nvidia, it forced an entire generation of Chinese engineers to learn something else: Huawei's software stack, built for Ascend. DeepSeek, the Chinese lab that stunned Silicon Valley, now runs its own infrastructure on Huawei chips, and once developers build on a platform, they don't easily leave. That is the thing America actually lost, not a chip sale, a foothold in the software that the next decade of AI will be written in. And you do not have to take my word for it. Listen to Nvidia's chief executive officer, Jensen Huang. He did not spin it. He called the export controls a failure. He said they gave Chinese firms the spirit, the energy, and the government support to accelerate. He admitted Nvidia's China market share had collapsed from 95% to 0%, and that Washington had handed China monopoly markets that its rivals could now build on and export to the rest of the world. But here's the part the triumphant headlines get wrong. Huawei has not beaten Nvidia, not globally. By the hardest estimates, every Huawei AI chip on Earth combined still adds up to only around 2 to 5% of Nvidia's total computing power, choked by limited factory capacity and a shortage of advanced memory. China did not out-engineer America. America cornered China, and China was forced to build its own everything: chip, machine, and software. The exact outcome the controls were meant to prevent. So what really happened here? America had a genuine lead, and on raw technology, it still does. But it tried to defend that lead by building a wall, cutting China off from the best chips and the software that ran them. And the wall did what walls often do. It didn't stop the competitor. It forced the competitor to build a door of its own. Huawei's Ascend chip is still behind Nvidia's. Its clusters still burn too much power. Its factories still can't make enough. And none of that is the point. The point is that a market Nvidia owned 95% of is now closed to it. A software ecosystem is forming that doesn't need American technology at all. And the man who runs the most valuable chip company on Earth is the one telling you it backfired. The chips will get better. The factories will scale. And the door China was forced to build is not going to close again. In trying to slow China down, America may have simply given it a reason to never depend on America again.